Yeah, welcome everyone once again. Let's jump right into the contents to talk about conversational interfaces and the evolution of the user experience, right? So I would like to start with a very brief introduction about how the UX evolved since we start dealing with computers, right? So some of you might not remember, some of you work a lot with this kind of UI. So we started as a pure terminal to interface between humans and computers. So command line, not much fancy, just commands coming back and forth. And then we evolved longly to one very simple, very intuitive UI with a very elegant approach to the end users. But truth be told, the thing that you use nowadays on the on our work life is something that's more similar to this one than to the previous one. So UI is a topic that is always evolving, is always trying to improve and make the life of the users better. And one of the new waves that have been emerged 3-4 years ago is the conversational UIs. So voice interfaces, chatbots, something that can interact with humans closely to a natural language approach. So basically what is happening in terms of user experience is that we stopped to learn how to deal with the computers. Like it was always like humans learning how to interact with computers, like what are the commands that this terminal can support and so on. And now computers are starting to learn to interact with humans. So this is the main shift that we got now. So the idea of today's session is basically explain a little bit of the overview of how these technologies are impacting us and what can you do to implement some kind of interface like this with both SAP Business One or SAP Business ByDesign. So let's see a couple of examples and some of the concepts behind the conversational interfaces, right? So as the name suggests, that's basically one interface that can conduct one conversation with the end users using natural language. So not the specific commands, not the specific inputs and outputs, but trying to be as similar as possible from a natural conversation. You could be using either voice or text inputs. And we have two basically types of models to interact with the users. The first one is the retrieval-based model, which is basically a predefined set of ifs and conditions that our interface can handle. And the other one is the generative models, which is basically using a lot of machine learning to generate the inputs and outputs from the users. So this is not, of course, most of you have already been interacted with some sort of conversational interfaces, whether it's to support chatbot, for example, or if you got any of these conversational devices, you probably have interacted before. So let's see some of the real examples that are companies that are using this kind of interfaces in their products. So the first one is Duolingo, a worldwide famous language platform. So basically they provide one conversational chatbot as a language teacher. So you can interact with one specific bot to learn a new language. It has a lot of machine learning concepts behind, so it can provide you more challenges depending on the level and proficiencies that you have on a determined language. And yeah, you can start new conversations with your bot teacher every 2 days. So basically here is one of the some screenshots of the Duolingo chatbot. This is one used for learning. There's another one very interesting case, which is Sibley. Sibley is basically a mental health coach that use a lot of empirical based training to support people and to provide counseling in a very straightforward way. So basically, it's your AI psychologist or psychiatry, depending on what you want to talk. And this is, of course, there's a lot of support from real psychologists, real doctors behind, but what the user is interfacing to is basically with a chatbot that learned a lot of treatments and can provide counseling to end users. And there's a very interesting fact about Sibley is that a lot of its users says that they prefer to talk with a chatbot. They prefer to talk with a different UX because they don't want to tell their problems to another human, for example. So this is completely separated from the regular counseling experience. Yeah, here's some of the screenshots about the therapy guidance and the counseling that the Sibley chatbot can provide. And last but not least, there's one that is very, very, very big, especially in China. So WeChat, this is their, it started as a mobile messenger, but at the end evolved to several apps in one. So WeChat has more than 1 billion monthly active users, and they reinvented how you do several things. So from mobile wallet, so you can have your own wallet inside WeChat, to call a cab or order foods, for example, or even pay your own bills. So what happens is that what started once as mainly one messenger app, it evolved to this piece where you can interact with several chatbots from different companies, for example. So if you want to order your Starbucks, you talk with the chatbot from Starbucks. If you want to order a cab or pay some bills, for example, send some money, you talk to different chatbots depending on the company that is available on your WeChat. So yeah, these are three very simple but very, very powerful and productively used examples of conversational AIs. So this is just to set the ground to what we prepared. So some time ago, we did the first SAP Business One assistant, which is one conversational AI to interface with the Amazon Echo, the device from that hosts the Alexa. And last year, we also implemented the same integration to SAP Business ByDesign. So currently, we have two prototypes, two samples that can interface with those devices. And in this session, I'm going to present to you the concepts of these prototypes and how you can use it to implement this on your own. So starting with an overview about what is the device is, what are the capabilities. So basically, this is a wireless speaker. This is the Amazon Echo, which can interact with its users using voice. It's always triggered by his name. So basically you call Alexa, that's the trigger word, and it will start to start listening to the user interaction after that. And you can use for many things. So here's just a couple of examples. And you can also implement your own integration. So in our case, our integration with the Digital Core, Business One, or Business ByDesign. So the Amazon Echo runs, the software itself runs on Amazon Web Services, and it has a predefined set of skills. The skills, you can think of skills as like the apps for this device. So each app that runs on that device is called a skill. So, and you can also build your own skills. So it comes with a lot of apps already. You can install the apps that other developers, other companies have implemented, but you can also create your own. So just a quick diagram of how things works. Basically, the users interface with this device, and depending on what you're gonna say to it, you're gonna be activating one native skill, like for example, tell me what time is it, how is the weather outside, or something like this, or a third-party skill. So in the case that we are going to develop ourselves. And based on that, the device will parse the interaction from the user and call the specific service in the backend. Could be the service for the weather forecast, for example, or it could be the service for Business One service layer to create a sales order, for example. So this is more or less the high-level architecture of that. So that being said, let's jump into the skills. So the apps itself, how do they work, right? So the skills are mainly a set of 3 attributes. So the first main attribute is the invocation name. So that will be the name of your app, the name of your skill. For example, when you say, Alexa, open B1, this B1 part, which is the name of your app, that's the invocation name, the name that you're gonna use to invoke your application, your skill. Then we got what we call the intents. So intents are basically what are the functions, what are the actions that can be performed from your specific skill. So for example, if you are ordering a Uber, for example, with that invocation name, the intent would be like, order me a Uber Black or order me a Uber X. So that's a different kind of intent. In Business One, for example, or ByDesign, it could be, I need some supplies, or give me the sales numbers, or give me the purchase report, for example. So those are the different intents, different actions that can be performed by your skill. After the intent, we got the slots, and the slots are basically the parameters that an intent can receive. For example, if I'm asking for a sales report, which is the intent, I can provide some slots like the parameter saying the first quarter of 2019, for example. Those two informations, first quarter and 2019, are the slots of my intent. So basically, these are the three important things that we need to define in order to create a skill. there's only one invocation name. It could be, you could have many intents, many functions, and these many functions could have many slots, many parameters, as much as you want. Of course, since we are dealing with conversational AIs, the idea is to make it simpler. So it doesn't make much sense for us to create one intent with like 10 parameters and always asking the users for more information. We try to make it simple and straightforward. So just to make it clear before we jump into the code, into the B1 Assistant code, you're gonna see, for example, here we got two kinds of invocations. So the first one, I'm gonna say, Alexa, ask Domino's for my easy order. Domino's is the invocation name of my skill. So when Alexa hear the name Domino's, it will know that the next part of the sentence should be forward to the Domino's skill, and the easy order is the intent. In this case, there are no slots, right? There's no parameters for that. It's just a simple, straightforward interaction. On the second case, we got Alexa ask P1, which is the invocation name, about sales. The sales part is the intent. What is the function that we're gonna call from the first quarter? So that first quarter is one slot. Of course, we could have another interaction, and Alexa asking back, okay, what is the year of that quarter, right? With only the quarter makes no sense for me. I need the year, and then you can provide and talk again the second slot. It doesn't need to be all in one sentence. We're gonna see that in the example. So yeah, summarizing, we can have one invocation name, many intents, and each of its intents has its own slot. So basically, that's how the skills are built. So this is the part that goes inside the device. So this once we define a skill, and we're gonna do that live, this will be deployed inside the device on the Amazon services. That they will take care of that once we define it everything. There's another part, of course, which is the logic of your application, the backend logic of your skill. So if we started first to define those three topics here on the B1 Assistant skill bit, there's another part that goes, of course, to make the phrases, for example, the sentences that Alexa will talk. We'd also verify if the information that's provided is accurate, and specify what are the digital codes, or what is the business logic of our backend system. So this bit is a small sample application that we're going to host that somewhere else, not inside the device, but in our case, in SAP Cloud Platform. As this is just a standard Node.js application, and actually you could write in any programming language you want, we could host that anywhere. But in our case, we're gonna host on SAP Cloud Platform, and this small app will receive the information already parsed from Alexa, and based on that, we'll trigger specific functions. So for example, whenever Alexa call a function saying, give me the sales report, it will call this app that is hosted on SAP Cloud Platform. This app will contact Business One or ByDesign based on the configuration, of course, and say, okay, so is Business One, I would take the information from service layer. Is ByDesign, I would take it from the public solution model. So yeah, that's basically how this application will act. And yeah, what we're gonna need for that, actually, I will jump this one, and I'm gonna show you the specific code directly. So yeah, this is just a very quick presentation before we jump into the code and you guys understand how everything is interacting with each other. So we're gonna be using the code provided in this link that is right there. So I will jump into that, which should be right here. So yeah, this is the code we've been using for the hackathon on the innovation summits, and basically this is where we host the two integrations with Alexa. So the first one is Business One, and the other one with Business ByDesign. Of course, there are a few prerequisites in order for this to work. The first one is you need to have an Amazon developer account, which is completely free of charge. I already created mine here, and we're going to open that in a moment. And the second, you need to have configured your SAP Cloud Platform Cloud Foundry environment. And the link here, if you click here, there's a tutorial which we're going to guide you through the step. Also free of charge, just basically a next finish process once you got registered. But this is not what we need for us to host our application in SAP Cloud Platform and deploy the skill on Amazon. So yeah, we have two samples, the integration with Business One and ByDesign. Architecturally speaking, they are exactly the same. The main difference is that Business One will talk with service layer, Business ByDesign will talk with the public solution model. The API is available on ByDesign. So you basically click on which one you want to follow. In our case, I'm going to present you the Business One integration, and in here you're going to see the code and what you need to be done to implement that. So yeah, let's jump right in. What we, if you see here, it's a very simple code. We got like the one folder mainly for the business logic itself. It's modules. The rest of it is to implement it on Amazon, which is the skill bit. And here also some test functions for you if you want to test that. So what you need to do is to download this code. You can clone this repository or download everything directly from GitHub, which I already did. And if you see here already opening that, you can see I have the same structure here. So modules, skill, test, and all the other apps. And the only thing that needs to be done is that we need to update our manifest.yaml file and with the informations from our business one environment. So again, this part of our application will communicate with business one and send the information back to Alexa. So Alexa will always call this application. So this application needs to know where your business one is hosted, what are the username and password that you want to authenticate with business one. In my case, already you just need to update this file here with your information and already place this in here. So that's mine. So I just copy this here and replace this part. So you can see here, I have my business one running on business one cloud. There's the address for my service layer, my user, my password, and so on. So once I save this, I just need to send this to the SAP Cloud Platform. And as I mentioned before, if you follow that the tutorial to create your SAP Cloud Platform account, you'll be able to access your environment using the terminal. So what I want to do here is just log in into the SAP Cloud Platform with CF login. I'll use my email and my password. If you ask for my space, which is in your case, if you're using it for the first time, you won't even have many spaces. It's just one. So now that means I'm logged into SAP Cloud Platform, and what I need to do is that I need to send this application to the SAP Cloud Platform. And to do that is quite straightforward. I just need to make sure I'm on the right folder, which I'm not. So I will navigate to the folder where this solution is hosted. This will be Amazon Alexa. Okay, so I navigated here, and if I see, I have the B1 Alexa sample, not the BYD. Okay, I'll just clear this. And yeah, now I have, oops, I didn't log in, B1 Alexa sample. Yep. So now I'm here on the same folder with the same apps, and my manifest is the one that we just updated. So you can see everything is in there. So the command that you need to do to deploy this on SAP Cloud Platform is just this, CF push. So we send this to the SAP Cloud Platform using the command CF push. What this is gonna do is that we read the manifest file, the one that I just updated here, and get all the files that are needed for this application to run and start to uploading that into the SAP Cloud Platform. SAP Cloud Platform will get this application. You didn't specify the runtime, you didn't specify anything. It will get this application and try to run against several runtimes. And you can see here is already identified that there's an Node.js application. And once this is done, your application will be running in the cloud. So this is the backend of the Alexa skill. Let's leave it running. It takes like 1 or 2 minutes. And let's work on the Alexa skill part. So the Alexa skill part is the one that goes inside the device, right? So to access that, you're gonna go to the developer.amazon.com, right? And log in. I already logged in here. I'm already on my account. Let me just make it from the beginning, developer.amazon.com. That's the main page. And then you're gonna click on Alexa in here, this part. So in this Alexa bit, what we need to do is to create a new skill. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a new skill. And here on the console part, we have the option to create a new skill. Oops, I got logged out of that, but that's okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click here and create a new skill. And here you can set the name for your skill, like which can be the same as the invocation name, but the name of your app at the end of the day. So I'll call this B1 Africa, because this is the African Empowerment session. The default language for your skill. How you're gonna create your skill, we're gonna start from scratch. So we are not doing using any template. So that will be a custom SKU, not in any of these templates in here. And we're gonna provide our own backend. We could have our backend hosted on Amazon, which is the two options right here, both on Node.js or Python, but we're gonna provide our own. You saw that before. I'm just deploying everything on SAP Cloud Platform. So that's what I'm going to use. So provide your own, it's already selected. So you're just gonna create SKU. And how you're gonna start it? I'm gonna start it from scratch as well. I don't want anything predefined. So yeah, this is the SKU build panel. So you can see here we have some of the options. So the first thing is, what is your invocation name? As I mentioned before, what are the intents, the functions that we're gonna call? You can see already there are some predefined functions like cancel, stop, and so on. These are native from the device. And there's lot types, the parameters that you can receive. So to make it very easier, in that repository that we had, actually I already downloaded it, so it's here, right? If you go to the SKUs folder, and you're gonna find one JSON file called intent schema. So basically, this is all the interactions that are supported by that backend solution that we deployed already in a JSON format. So you can just copy this part here and deploy that on our SKU console. So you can see here, there's an option called JSON editor. We're gonna click here, and I'm just gonna replace all of that, right? And I'm gonna save this model, and I'm gonna build this model. So you can see here, it's starting building, that's okay. One thing that I want to change is that I want to change the invocation name, because the invocation name is inherited from that JSON that I just pasted. So I don't want to be B1 hack, I want to be B1 Africa. And now I need to wait for it to build in order to save. So we're gonna save and build one more time. Just wait a couple of seconds. It's normally really quick. Okay, that's done. I will save this model again, now with B1 Africa, and I'm gonna build this model once again. So let's start. Yeah, build is started in here, leave it there. Yeah, this is the first thing we need to do. And if you can see here, I already have 3 intents. So the first one is say hello. So you can say hello to first name, and she will reply back. And the second thing is make a purchase. This one is already predefined. So you can say I need supplies. For example, I need office supplies, and we trigger this intent. The other one is sales information, but you can talk about sales report, sales figures, and it will report, give you, ask back for you what's the quarter, what's the year, and provide that information as well. Okay, so these are the 3 intents. And of course, we got the slots, which are the parameters before. So we got here, we predefined the slots like quarters, for example. So to identify which Q4, 4th quarter, 3rd quarter, and so on. Some predefined items for the office supplies. So USB drive, printer, ink. This is the one that we defined it to make the purchase, for example. Yeah, those are the 2 customized ones, and the rest are only default slots like dates, numbers, and so on and so forth. So yeah, our model is built successfully, as you can see right there. And what we need to do now is that, okay, my SKU is created, it's done, but this SKU has no idea what's going on SAP Cloud Platform, right? We need to ask this SKU, configure this SKU to communicate with that app that we just deployed on SAP Cloud Platform every time it needs to get information. So what we need to do is click here on this endpoint part, which is basically tell this SKU, every time you get everything ready to make a call for that specific intent, call my web service, call this specific endpoint. There are 2 options. Again, we can host that on Amazon serverless service, which is AWS Lambda, or we can have our own, which is our case. So I'm going to use our own endpoint, and here I need to put the endpoint of our application, which by now should already have been deployed on the oops. What happened here? A bit slow because of this Zoom stuff. Yeah, so you can see here, it finished the deployment, right? It did all that part. And at the end, it gave me one endpoint. You can see here, routes. So B1 assist Africa.cf apps. That's what we need to copy and go back there on the default region and say HTTPS and that's your endpoint in there. Of course, since it's HTTPS, we need to specify one valid certificate. In our case, for SAP Cloud Platform, the option you're looking for is my development endpoint. It's a subdomain of a domain that has a wildcard certificate. So that means that this domain here, our B1 Assistant Africa, is a subdomain of the u10hana.ondemand.com. So that's exactly what it is. So this should be fine. That means we can save that. And this will save on the skill manifest, and this should be ready for us to test. And we can click here on test. So when we click on test, the test option, I will disable the microphone because the microphone is on the call right now, but I will show you 2 ways of interacting with your skill once it's done. So we're gonna enable testing for development, of course, and at this point, it should be ready for testing. So what I'm gonna do is I will make it a little smaller, this screen right here. And in this screen, this is our backend part, right? This is the part that is hosted on the SAP Cloud Platform. So I'm gonna call another comment called CF logs, and I'm gonna place the name of my application, which is B1 Assist Africa. So at this point, we are real-time streaming the logs from the application that is running on the SAP Cloud Platform. So I'll leave this right on this part right here. Make it a little bit smaller. And in the left side here, we have the skill. So let's try and say to her, open B1 Africa. You can see here the interaction. And I think you cannot hear, but she's answering me back. But I will show you the real device in a moment. So you can see here, you already have some interactions, right? So every time I'm asking her, it's getting the information, sending it back to the backend, and the backend is retrieving. So in this case, I'm gonna say, I need supplies. Actually, no, I need sales report. Oh, show me sales numbers. And you can see here again, let me make it prettier, these logs here. So you can see here the interaction going back and forth. So there's no previous intent. So the current intent is sales info. So I already understand that I'm trying to get sales information. So say first quarter, what year do you need? So that would be last year, for example. Actually, this year. And you can see here connecting to service layer on that part. Connection succeeded. Storing service layer in cache, getting the information. And there are no sales on Q1 of 2020, which is fine. This is there's no sample data on this database, but that's okay. So let's try another one to create a document, for example. Let's try to create a purchase order, sales order. Sorry. So you can say again, open B1 Africa. I need supplies. I'm gonna say printer paper because she's asking what kind of item they want. So that would be that. 10 packs. And this is one hint for you. Whenever you're testing your skill using the chat part, never write the numbers like this, for example, the actual numbers. Always write them because Alexa has problems with specific numbers. So only on the chat bot. So I will order 10 packs and I don't need anything else. So I say no. And you can see here, it's now trying to create an order. And you can, and there's, if you take a look, there's here the feedback from the service layer, and what we are calling service layer, actually, they're trying to create an order for the specific card code in one specific due date, and the comment that order will have. And here you can see the order number is back. It's the same one that is coming from the interaction, and the total amount is here. We can take a look at business one. So this will be a sales order. So I have business one right here. I'll open the sales order and go to the last one. And you can see 1183, which is, yeah, it's the same. And the 10 packs of printer paper, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, printer paper. And yeah, that's the interaction using the chatbot, which means basically RSQ is working. That means if you have one device, you can test with your device that is linked to that account of yours as well. So for example, let me see, I need to show myself at this moment. So probably you are seeing me. Let me, maybe if I stop sharing the screen and just, yeah, go to the device. I have here the Amazon Echo with me, the Echo Dot, which is $20, is the cheapest version. And it's on mute right now. That's why you see the red ring on it. So I will just unmute it. And now I can do exactly the same interactions that I was doing with the chatbot, but now with the device itself. So I can say, for example, Alexa, open B1 Africa.
Welcome to the SMB Summit Hackathon. How can I help?
I need supplies.
Should I get you printer ink, paper, or maybe a USB drive?
Printer ink.
Okay, how many packs do you need?
5 packs.
Do you need anything else?
No.
Your order number 1184 was placed successfully. The total amount of your purchase is $341.25.
Okay, you saw we got the order once again. So I will back sharing my screen. And you can see here on the logs, it's the next order, 1184, the one that I was interacting with the voice, right? And if we go back to the business one, you're gonna see right there, there's the last order and the 5 packs of, in this case, printer ink, rainbow nuance ink. And yeah, the comment saying that the order was created using Alexa. So, oops, I activated her. As you can see, very easy to start your. Oops, sorry. Very easy to start your first prototype. And if you take a look at the code, it's very easy for you to enhance this code as well. So basically, what we have here on both sides is that we have on the modules folder, there's one file called B1 Assistant. And in this B1 Assistant, we're gonna have several functions to interact with the 3 intents that we got. So in here, you can see that on line 82, we got the intent's name, the name of the action that we want to trigger. So for example, say hello, get sales info, post purchase, for example. And in this place is where you can add more functionality. So you can create one like another function calling create service order or create activity and so on. And the interaction is the same. We parse Alexa parse the information from the user, send it to your backend system, which is this code that we are seeing right here. And from this bit, you say, you implement your business logic. So not really rocket science, really simple to implement. I really invite you to take a look at the code, do your own deployment. And as you can see, we don't need the device, although it's really cool to do the demo with the device, but you can use the chatbot in here to test your application. Or even if you really want a voice experience, you can use the Alexa app that is, you can install on both Android and iOS devices, and you can have a chat with her using your phones. Okay, so I think that's all that I had to show today.